On Wednesday, I talked about some of my best games of the decade, and I figured a fitting follow-up would be to talk about some of the worst games of the decade. And same as before, I'm talking purely from an opinion base. I'm not looking at Metacritic. I'm pretty sure that some of these games on here you may actually really like and completely disagree with me, but I would ask you that you just watch it and take an objective view for yourself and let me know some of your thoughts. Guys, these games, they made my skin crawl this last decade. Alright, I'm booting off with Aliens Colonial Marines. It was not what it was promised to be, and Sega got their arses sued for showing gameplay at E3 that did not mimic the final product. What a shame. I mean, thank God for Alien Isolation for forever they're kind of claiming redemption on a series, but Colonial Marines looked terrible. The script was bad, the story was bad, the action was just so unorganic, you know, that was kind of my experience of it. It didn't flow, it was just a disaster, and sometimes I look at it in stores and I'm like, $1.99 for Colonial Marines? That's a rip-off. Like, not even £2, and I think that it's a rip-off. So it's a shame, but I think it was an important game because I think it showed, don't lie about your product, don't lie about video games, because we're gonna get you. The community are gonna kick your ass and you're gonna get sued. So I think for that, like, legally, maybe it was like a few lessons for other game developers and publishers, but it was a shit game, and I'm never gonna play it again. Let's talk about a first-person shooter, another first-person shooter, Duke Nukem Forever. That game didn't know if it was playing out to a 90s audience or, you know, it just didn't seem to know its target market. And I think that was evidenced in the poor script writing for Duke himself. Jokes were terrible, they were untimely, they were forced, and they just weren't funny. It was crap. Coupled with that, I remember thinking that the HUD looked really bland, the combat was really boring. There didn't seem to be a purpose to the game. You were kind of just going through it, and it was like, didn't like the NPCs, didn't like the graphics. There was nothing about Duke Nukem Forever that I actually liked, other than the fact that I got a copy for free. So fortunately, I didn't pay for this wrath of a video game. But I think even for free, I'm never going to pick it back up and play it. But I remember it for just how crap it was. And like I said in Wednesday's video, when you play a game and you know you're going to gel with it and you know you're going to just be engrossed in it, this, I remember it for the complete opposite. I remember it for sitting there and being like, what? What is this mess, man? How can you bring this to market? So, a little bit ironic, but memorable for all the wrong reasons. Right, this game is probably my surprise game. I could not stand Lords of the Fallen. Now, if you're a Souls fan, which I was, not massively, but I am, I kind of was looking to Lords of the Fallen for a little bit of a Soulsy experience, and maybe that's my fault. But I went into it and it was I thought it was trying to be Dark Souls to the point where it became too much of a difficult game. And I don't mind difficult games, but when it was kind of difficult for the sake of being difficult, if that makes sense. I'm pretty sure the hardcore gamers out there will be able to empathise with this point and know what I mean, because I'm struggling to kind of articulate it. I know just the feeling that it invoked in me was just complete frustration. I hated that game so much that I just took it, like, I never trade games, where I took it straight back to the store and was like, don't want it, don't want to ever see it again. I actually saw a cheap collector's edition in one of the retro game hunts that I did recently. Didn't even want to buy it, not even as a collector. So it just invoked pure frustration in me for, I I guess not having its own sense of identity. It just, like I say, it's like, let's just take what we think the crowd likes about Souls games and chuck it into our games. That might be an unpopular opinion. If you've played Lords of the Fallen, I want to hear from you. Okay, Fallout 76, let's get it out of the way. Yet more lies from Bethesda. Publishers, developers have lied so much about these games like Colonial Marines. Todd Howard stood on stage and sold Fallout 76 in a reasonable light. Nobody wanted a Fallout MMO, but we got a Fallout MMO. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. It felt just felt empty. It felt far too barren. No personality, graphics and glitches. Oh my goodness, they were a disaster. Even like the servers were so unstable. Like if you're gonna bring an MMO out, at least make sure you've tested your servers. It's just been a shit show from start to finish. And then they released this like paid subscription for people to have their own private servers. You know, infinite loot, stash boxes. I mean, for crying out loud, Bethesda. In fact, I think the weekend just gone, it's been free to play, but too little too late, mate. That game should be free to everybody. It should have been free within the first month of release. Even the collector's edition, right? Even the tangible stuff in the collector's edition, the power armor bag, even that wasn't to the standard it said it was going to be, like pre-release. So everybody's paying a mint for like the nice big collector's edition, like 200 quid on it, and it just failed. So lies, glitches, bad graphics, zero purpose, absolutely zero purpose, crap to no quests in Fallout 76. I think we can safely say that it has a very small fan base, and I'm not in that. Speaking of bad releases, Battlefront 2 got a massive rap for its loot boxes, no campaign. Like all we've asked for until Jedi Fallen Order was a Star Wars with a campaign, and then it was announced and it's all just online again. And whilst I think Battlefront 2 did well in looking great, I mean, it's a Star Wars game, you know, you're never going to look at a Stormtrooper on a video game and go, you're always going to be like, yeah, you know, it just the kind of pay to win ethos just, I think, was a huge turning point for the gaming community. And I felt so sorry for the developers that had worked and grinded and grafted so hard for EA to then completely tarnish the game. It was awful. Okay, my final game that I've just really detested. Again, there's a running theme here. Anthem. Full of promises, didn't deliver. Apparently Anthem was rushed to market. Within 12 months it was completed, which in itself for a AAA game is pretty much unheard of. You know, these games are in development for years and years and years and years. So I believe the fact that it was rushed to market within 12 months from pressure from EA, of course. It's just like terrible combat, you know, no purpose. The world just didn't feel as fleshed out as you would expect, because on the face of it, you looked at something like Anthem and it just looked mint. It looked like a Destiny rival when I first saw it. I was like, whoa, you know, this looks wicked. And now you can get it for $4.99 in the bargain basement bin in games. So unfortunately it flopped, and I think again it's a case of too little too late, because I've heard that BioWare are going to be kind of really revamping it going into the next year and the next decade, obviously, but it's too little too late. Anthem is crud. So as with Wednesday's video, I think I could sit here all day and depress myself into talking about some of the video games that made me feel hellish over the last decade. There's plenty more I could talk about. A lot of people say that No Man's Sky was one of the worst. I think it definitely started off as one of the worst in 2014, but it's become something great. So that's why I've not included it on this list. If you feel you can add any value, slam a comment below or just leave a like on the video. And if you're new here and you want some heartfelt gaming content, please hit that subscribe button. My name is Gemma. Have a beautiful day. See you guys soon.